Well, to other matters now, the West African Examinations Council, otherwise known as WAEC, has issued an apology to candidates and the general public due to technical issues affecting the 2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination WASSCE results. These issues arose from a new anti-malpractice measure called paper serialization, which is applied to core subjects like mathematics, English language, biology, and economics. WAEC admits that an internal post-result release procedure revealed some technical bugs in the results. So, it decided to urgently review and correct the technical glitches that led to the situation. The examination body has now temporarily shut down its result checker portal due to these technical issues. Candidates who have previously checked their results are advised to recheck after 24 hours from when the statement was released. Well, joining us now is Dr. Nwaogu, proprietor, educator, and Carol Barlow, educational leadership coach and development consultant. Thank you both for joining us on the news tonight. Dr. Nkechi, if you can hear me, she joins us from Port Harcourt tonight on the news. Okay, I don't think we have her at the moment. Let's bring the conversation to the studio where we have educational leadership coach and development consultant Carol Barlow. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So let's take a step back to about 24 hours ago when there was a press conference about the results and how, you know, it was shocking to a lot of people. But I wonder if that came to you as a shock. 38.32% of candidates passed the exams. What did you make of that?
It's actually quite tragic. Interestingly enough, I was interviewing a young lady who had just sat her WAEC results that same day for an internship. She was in my office and her results were not as she expected. She did well, but there were one or two results that she just said, I have consistently got A's and now I got C's and I'm really, really disappointed. So it's really affecting the young people. It's really affecting schools, of course. So it's quite tragic and unfortunate that you know, that this thing has happened. But of course, there's little surprise because there are some serious systemic issues.
Okay, maybe I should even take you up on that point that you just made because it is very important. I mean, you say it's not surprising. My question is, this level of failure, 38.32% in WAEC, is it a reflection of the broken educational system? I mean, you say it's no surprise. What are the factors playing out here?
Well, I can't speak for the details of what's actually happened, but from what I understand, the government has put in certain safeguards to negate exam malpractice, which is a very, very serious issue in Nigeria. And as a consequence, that's why they are saying that there is this big issue. But that in itself is a problem. Because if we can drop from 72% to 38%, and the result is, or the cause, they're saying, is exam malpractice, then that's a very serious problem. That in itself is a very serious problem. And it's one that I've been in this country now for 10 years. And I remember when I first came here, I couldn't believe you know, the talk about miracle centers and the conversations about exam malpractice being common, and I was, you know, I was quite shocked and horrified. Of course, you come to realize your new reality. But I interestingly enough, I work with a lot of private schools, and I've checked, because of what was on the news, I checked with them to see how have you done? Has this glitch or these glitches affected you? They said our results are excellent.
Interesting. Well, let's bring in a proprietor, someone who owns a school, Dr. Nkechi Nwaogu from Port Harcourt. I hear he is now available to join us on the news. Dr. Nwaogu, if you can hear me, please indicate.
Nwaogu, actually. It's Nwaogu.
Nwaogu.
Okay.
Yeah,
the name is Nkechi Nwaogu. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and I do apologize for murdering your name there. But as a proprietor and an educator, can you tell us what the situation is or was with your school concerning this year's result?
Oh, well, funny enough, my own daughter, my second daughter, was involved in the WAEC result, the WAEC examinations this year. And she's a top flight candidate. But then I saw the results. Yeah, at the end of the day, I didn't want to discourage her spirit. I just felt, okay, she passed. But then I expected a lot more. Maths is usually one of her best subjects. And then she scored a C5 in maths, and I was surprised. And I looked at her and said, you, maths, because we're mathematicians in our family. And then I moved on to other students and all that. Her class was really incredible, filled with very smart children, but then the results were below par. There wasn't any failure. They all passed, but not as much as I expected them to have done, based on the inputs, the efforts the teachers made and all that. So I'm surprised now I'm hearing that there was a technical glitch. And I seem to think of one thing, inputs. So at the back end, especially with the OBJs, some wrong answers may have been imputed. So if the answer for question 1 is a B, and it was erroneously put at C, you, the candidate, you know what the answer should be, and you tick a B, but because there was a wrongly imputed answer, it automatically marks you bad, and so you miss that question, and on and on and on. So they really need to check all of those things. It mustn't have been more technical than that. It was just probably especially human errors. That's what I suspect. Yeah, but then at the end of the day, they passed, and most candidates, even though dampened, will be happy that they passed. It could have been better than that. Yeah.
With you, Dr. Nwaogu. I mean, it was Fela that said, teacher, no teach me nonsense. I mean, when the computer system is putting out wrong answers, what do you expect the students to do? Let me ask you the same question I asked, Barlow here. Is this a sign of a broken system? What do you make of WAEC's explanation that it had to do with the deployment of, anti-malpractice measures, including, of course, serialization of questions, which made collusion and cheating even more difficult? Does that really explain away what has happened with WAEC this time? Or are there more fundamental issues playing out?
There are deeper issues, and I wish we could come on the same conversation table. Serialization has always been a good thing. It's simple, okay? So we're writing the same exam, and I'm writing option A, you're writing option B, and so I can't even ask you. Maybe my number 1 question is your number 35. And so it's such a short detail, short timing, I can't ask you questions. So that only deals with communication in the exam hall at face value, but it doesn't deal with other issues. I mean, other issues of collaboration, a situation where a teacher is brought in to sit by the students and help them answer the questions. It doesn't deal with another level of malpractice where the examiner, for example, just collects some money exchanges hands, and he says, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Okay, it doesn't stop the case where I have answered and I've submitted my script, and then the invigilator says, okay, you can come copy from Ikechi's script. It doesn't. So there are a lot of hot issues that need to be addressed beyond this. Serialization is not a problem. I think it's recommended. I think it's commendable. WAEC should keep at it, but there are deeper issues than that.
Okay.
And of course, basically, yeah, if I could add, basically the effort of the school system or the teachers is to ensure that every child greets the exam hall with a sense of confidence. Okay, we've covered the curriculum and we've done that. So where the schools know already that, we can get around this, or we can just have some money, some brown envelopes can exchange hands, and we really don't need to be that deep and detailed, we'll still pass. Okay, parents don't care. What they care about is how many passes did my child go through. Okay, so the emphasis now is on delivering the curriculum. And if you can get around that through malpractice, you don't need to be so intense about your training. And the children get into the exam hall with that notion, my daddy has paid some 5,000, 10,000 per child, per subject, per exam. I don't need to crack my head reading so much. Now that demeans the reading culture of the Nigerian student. And it's a deeper issue than just serialization and everything else anyone was talking about.
All right, Barlow, I see you nodding in agreement. I'll come to you in a moment, but let's just tell our viewers that Arise News reached out to the examination body WAEC to come give their own side of the story beyond the press statement released about the glitch, but they declined to appear. So Barlow, I mean, you are nodding in agreement to what he said, but let me just ask you, because before this dramatic U-turn by WAEC, a lot of people were quick to blame the students for distraction in society, poor teaching, and collapsing education standard. Would you say they were justified, or they were too quick to judge the Nigerian students? In this particular exams, we know there were issues. Students in some parts of the country had to write exams with candlelight, late into the night. What do you say, Barlow?
I think that's absolutely the case. There are many situations, things that are going wrong in the system.
Yeah, okay.
That, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Barlow.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There are several issues here. There's poor quality teaching, there's infrastructure issues. You've just mentioned that some of them were writing by candlelight. There are issues of, you know, I've been to some state schools, and we've asked questions, you know, what is it you want your government to do? We want chairs and tables. I mean, they were sitting on the floor.
As basic as that.
As basic as that. There are some serious issues there. And even when there are people, that well-intentioned people in government that want to make a difference, the challenge is actually the system is so damaged, is so broken, that the job is just huge. Where do you start? And I think there really has to be an overhaul of the education system. There has to be really well-intentioned people in the government sector that are prepared to make an investment, that are prepared to make a difference, and really people working within the civil service who are actually prepared to see it through. Because this is the future of Nigeria. This is the future of our children. You know, this is we're doing them a huge disservice. And I wonder what Nigeria will look like in 20 years if we don't do something about it.
Oh my, I mean, that's scary when you even put it that way. Dr. Nwaogu, I mean, what do you see down the line if this situation persists? What needs to happen fundamentally on the part of government and all stakeholders to fix this very quickly before things get totally out of hand in Nigeria's education sector?
Well, two things I'll say. I think the emphasis should be on success, not just exam malpractice. Nigerian students aren't all cheats. There are students who sit down and write independently, and that should be the goal of every school, to say we're a good school. We're too exam focused. Okay, we're not life focused, and I think we need to build successes for society. We need to build engineers that can build us planes that we are ready and happy to fly in. But with this consistent investment in exam malpractice, we make it about fear, okay, and not courage and not confidence. And so yeah, it's good to checkmate, you know, excesses of these students. It's good to make them prepare better, and that should be the gain. Because when you learn to read for yourself and you learn to write for yourself, you can become a global scholar. Because there are other climes where you can't cheat as much or as easily as you cheat in Nigeria. So the emphasis of WAEC now, building a future for Nigeria, is to build confidence, get to collaborate more with ministries of education and the school system, okay, make learning easier and more interesting, invest more in the curriculum that gets children to want to learn. They're happy to learn and they want to know these things for themselves. They're happy to acquire knowledge so they can build on success for the future. Because the fear of exam malpractice is even increasing the tendency of exam malpractice. And so going forward, it's not too much of a headache. There are nations where they don't even write exams. Back in the day, we said exams are not necessarily a true test for knowledge. There are climes where you test orally, you test through practical frames, and not just you know, the insistence on a stereotype. Okay, so let's look at these things. So leave things as they are, correct the mistakes, the technical glitches, reevaluate. If there are truer results, if there are better marking processes, go ahead and do that, all right? And make sure at the end of the day, you don't come up with this JAM came up with the same technical glitch, and then WAEC is coming up common. It seems like the Nigerian students are taken for granted, and anybody could take advantage of, you know, this situation and say whatever he wants to say. So corrections should be made as quickly as they can, and they should ensure that before they come up with an innovation, innovations are good. There should be some form of mock testing. Okay, there should be some form of prior arrangement to get the students to have a look and feel of what is to be, what is to be expected. Okay, you don't just dump it on them, trial and error, live at the middle of the match, and then you want to now begin to adjust the goalposts. It doesn't seem very well for excellence if we as a body, we as a nation are driving at excellence.
Oh, Barlow, you know, he took that right out of my mouth, because we know just very recently we saw that with JAM, and then now with WAEC, and he talked about confidence, but let's talk about trust. You work with leadership consulting. How do you fix trust with a situation like this? Or perhaps I should ask you, is it even broken in the first instance with this kind of mix-up? And do we need to start setting exams for the examination bodies? Because it looks like this flip-flop has come to stay.
I think I'm in agreement with my colleague in the sense that serialization, moving away from, you know, trying to improve, trying to solve the problem of malpractice will really take teachers back to doing what they should be doing, which is teaching. You know, I think a lot of teachers become a little bit complacent because, and you know, in a lot of schools, some teachers don't even turn up to teach, you know, because they can rely on exam malpractice. And, you know, the evidence of that, I mean, as I said, I know a number of good schools, private schools that I work with, and I know that exam malpractice doesn't take place, and they had no issues. So clearly, I'm not suggesting that it's the only problem, but what I'm saying is
some would actually argue that it happens in private schools too.
It does happen in private schools too, and the point I'm saying is that these two schools in particular, I know, don't do exam malpractice. They don't subscribe to it, and their results were absolutely fine. So I think the issue is that we need to train our teachers very, very well. We need to make sure that pre-service teachers are trained well. We need to make sure that they are also imbibed with a value system that will make them take pride in what they're doing, pride in education, pride in teaching, pride in their job that they're doing, and just give the students the courage, just like our colleague said, give them the courage to sit those exams. I advocate for what he was talking about, which is exam practice after exam practice after exam practice, so that they are going into those exams with confidence, with boldness, and they have a surety that they are going to pass.
And even the courage to fail too is it's a great life skill. You learn how not to do it wrongly the next time. I have to say thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight. Dr. Nwaogu is the proprietor, educator. He is a proprietor and an educator. And of course, Carol Barlow is educational leadership coach, educational development consultant, joining us tonight on Newsnight. Thanks for your time and your insights.